Hello and welcome to the New 50. My name is Taiwo. I am a coach, trainer and writer. I'm also the founder of the New 50, which is aimed at people who are approaching or at midlife and who are looking to reconnect with their passion, step out of their comfort zone so that they can feel empowered enough to make choices about the way they create the next chapter of their lives. And today I'm going to be in conversation with Deborah Crowe, who is an author and activist. She's the author of the Darling Menopause, and so that should resonate for you if you are somebody who is maybe in your mid to late 40s, early 50s, and you are experiencing things that you have never experienced before about your body. Perhaps your body's looking a bit different, or you're feeling anxious when you don't normally feel anxious, or you're getting irritable where you don't normally get irritable, or your body temperature is just hotter than it has ever been before, and not in a good way either. So I brought Deborah on today because the menopause is not something that we as women were encouraged to talk about. I certainly didn't get an opportunity to talk about that with my mother because it just wasn't in my radar about at the time that she died. And we are going through changes in our bodies and in our temperaments, etc., and all the hormones are doing all sorts of things. And for a lot of women, they're feeling very isolated. And Deborah has chronicled her experiences in the book The Darling Menopause, and I thought she would be a great person to talk to. So now I'm going to introduce Deborah Crowe. Deborah, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do, a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure, Taiwo. Thanks so much, and I'm really pleased to be on your site because you're doing such important work. Actually, I'm actually originally a teacher trainer. I'm a woman in my 50s. There are many of us around. Teacher trainer. Then I've spent 30 years in development, actually, mostly working overseas. But as a result of my menopause and the experience with it, I actually completely reoriented myself, and I'm now a women's health and wellness coach, running workshops and one-to-one coaching. I have an online course. I do online coaching, and I've actually retrained as a meditation and yoga teacher as part of my sort of concern and passion to get better messages out to women to really contribute to this special phase of life, as you rightly referred to it. You know, the work that you're doing, it needs to be, there needs to be more of us doing it. So this is a great chance to get the messages out there.
Yes, no, that's great. And I suppose the impetus that got me to want to interview you was the Darling Menopause, because it started off as a blog, and I remember getting the blog posts in the emails and being quite amused by them because I was going through my symptoms. My symptoms were never as severe as yours, actually, and that was the other reason that I thought it was really important for people to hear about you, because I've had the hot flashes and yes, my body has changed, but some of the things that you were going through, as you chronicled in your book, were quite severe, and I think that that's happening for a lot of people, and they don't have people that are as understanding around them or even aware that what they're going through is something that a lot of women go through.
Yes.
So what made you decide to write The Darling Menopause?
Well, you know, it started off, you know, there I was, I suddenly noticed that I couldn't sleep, you know, having slept like a log all my life. Then suddenly, for a few nights, you know, that went to weeks and months, I wasn't sleeping. And then I noticed one of the worst symptoms is, you know, the traditional sort of one that everybody jokes about is the hot flushes. But actually, I was finding I couldn't remember things. I had terrible brain fog and dreadful mood swings. And actually, you know, women, and this can start from 35, which is why I'm just really determined to get better messages out there for women, because actually this is shocking. Because if you're actually, and I thought I was dying. I thought I had early onset Alzheimer's and actually heart disease, because you have terrible chest pains as well. And it took me ages to go to the doctor because I was so scared. So by the time I did go to the doctor, you know, and he just said, oh no, it's just the perimenopause. So it was like, what? You know, just. So I thought 2 weeks, antibiotics, you know, fine. And I said, you know, how long is it going to last for? He goes, 10 years. I was like, you must be joking. I've got to sleep sometime in the next 10 years. You know? So it was me sort of squawking down the phone at my sisters, my girlfriends, who just said, look, you've got to write this down. So I did make it funny because, you know, you lose your keys, you get to pick things up. But I suppose underneath it all, and what I've progressed to, is the sort of the more serious aspects of, imagine if girls, which happens in the world, but I mean, imagine in the UK, if girls were not told about periods and had no idea what was happening to them when they were pregnant, that would be, we would be outraged. Why are we not outraged that women who are 35 and who should be getting good advice about the next phase of life and managing it really well are finding themselves stigmatized? You get lonely, you lose your confidence, your libido, everything. Because of these terrible mood swings. It's all hormonal. It's just it's chemistry, it's biochemistry, and yet we don't know. So not only are you going through the symptoms, but they're made that much worse by the ignorance and potential shame you feel by thinking, what's wrong with me? Usually women are at the top of their game, like you know, you're a senior person, you've worked a long time, you might be, you know, leading processes, meetings, etc., and you can't remember the next sentence. You know, you lose your words, you know. So, but if you're prepared for that and you think, okay, I need to ease off, I need to take a bit better care of myself, you can plan it. And then it's not so scary, but actually it's really scary. Like I said, imagine being pregnant, you've got no idea what's growing inside you. You know, I think we need to see it in those terms. It's unacceptable, this ignorance and shame that goes with it.
Yes, and you talked about the most common symptom being the hot flashes, and then you talked about the brain fog and the mood swings and things. But you also, something that struck me in your book was this notion that there are like 50 other symptoms that people don't necessarily associate with menopause. And could you give me an idea of something, maybe one of like your top 5 or something?
Yes, I mean, the ones I mention are the sort of scary ones, you know, that I think women really ought to be informed about. But people know about hot flushes, but, you know, that, you know, they're not life-threatening, but they're unpleasant. But the other ones, which, you know, they're so random, is joint pain and restless legs at night. You know, you've got twitchy legs and the joint pain, which is hormonal, and you would not believe the pain. It's crippling, which is why, again, women seem to, you know, you think you have arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. The pain is extraordinary, and yet there are things you can do about it. People wouldn't ever assume that if you had a joint pain, it's part of a perimenopause or menopause symptom. It's your biochemistry adjusting itself. So that to me was a big one. The other one is really, you know, they're just such a list, but things like there's a lot around libido and physical changes in the body, agoraphobia, which is really, really extraordinary. Suddenly just losing your confidence. And that's your va-va-voom as your hormones, particularly the balance between estrogen and progesterone, but also testosterone, are balancing themselves out. So what happens is that there's 2 phases. The perimenopause, which is when your hormones are really like that, up and down, fluctuating madly, like in puberty. If I can't actually remember it, I don't know if other people can, but we accept that puberty is not 10 minutes, it's years. And you accept, teenagers are supposed to have those hormonal swings. Well, that's what happens to women at the other end after reproductive phase, you know, and it only balances out once your periods actually stop. So for me, the worst phase was before my periods actually stopped, because that's where often 10 years before is when the hormone swings are at their worst, and that means the mood swings, the brain fog, the forgetfulness. And I suppose those to me would always be the top ones to make women feel briefed on and understand. I mean, there's other random ones like, you know, you suddenly get bad teeth. I mean, it's all, you know, start at the top, work your way down, and you know,
work your way down.
Your hair comes off here and goes there. You know, you need to go to the, but it's about self-care. And, you know, caring. And this is where women are their own worst enemy, because what I found, the reason my symptoms were so severe was because I was very stressed. And stress is another hormone imbalance that causes, it stops the production, actually. Cortisol is the stress hormone. And it stops the production of estrogen and progesterone. Now, when you're going through perimenopause, you need as much estrogen and progesterone as you can possibly muster. So if you're stressed as well, it stops the production.
Right.
Because it thinks you're in a state of emergency. Now, most
Right.
women, I mean, women, again, this is WHO, World Health Organization data. Women are, you know, double, 2 times more likely to be stressed than men, 3 times more likely to be depressed than men. And actually, that's because, we also do 75% of household and child caring still, you know, again, looking at United Nations data. But also, it's because of our hormone structure, that actually with this sensitive, delicate balance that we play with our hormones, which we don't know about. So we're our own worst enemy in the sense that, you know, we feel guilty, which is a biochemical reaction, which is related to the stress hormone. We think taking care of ourselves is something that's seen as a luxury, not essential. And all of these things, which I now really try to get across to, you know, my tribe, your tribe, any women, that I think, we really need to sort of to step into our greatness of our third age to fulfill this potential which we have to help the world. You know, we've moved on, we've moved up in the world, as it were. You know, with the loss of maybe child rearing or work that we've done, that we can contribute so much more. But we can't if all we're worrying about is, you know, backache, leg ache, headache, tired. It's we need to sort that out, and that needs to start at an earlier age, ideally. But I mean, it's never too late to start. You know, whether a woman's in her 40s, 50s, or whatever. You know, it's get informed and stay informed.
Right. When you said 10 years, I think you just said 10 years before you actually go into. In terms of your period stopping, so it's 10 years before that the symptoms begin. So there's some women who maybe are having their children later on in life that will be, and you would have been one of them maybe, that would be having just had a child. So you're dealing with all the hormonal changes around that, and then you don't realize that you're going into a completely different phase as well. And so that must be really difficult to kind of navigate, be able to, because you've just had a child, so the last thing you're going to be thinking about is the menopause. I would have thought.
No, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, you know, I was, you know, I was 45 when I had my daughter, which is probably, you know, rather older than most. But you're right. I mean, women are putting off childbearing, but we're not informed that actually, you're right, within 5 years I was pregnant, had a baby, and started perimenopause. I mean, no wonder I was a basket case. I mean, frankly. So I mean, it's just extraordinary that we are told about puberty, we're told about pregnancy, and then we're not told what can potentially hit you next. And I think that, you know, the fact that women are choosing to have children later, that the implications and the understanding around that, and how actually the menopause makes you feel so tired and just this fatigue, like puberty again, you're being completely rewired. The whole of you is completely being rewired. It's exhausting. People don't say to pregnant women, get up, you don't be so lazy. Would they? I mean, you wouldn't dream of it.
No,
or a teenager who'd grown 10 centimeters in it, you wouldn't say they were lazy. But perimenopausal and menopausal women seem to think, you know, we feel ashamed. We do feel lazy. Why should we? We are absolutely being completely rewired, which is the best way, I think, of explaining it, to try and make women and men, you know, because we have a lot of men and supportive husbands and partners, or fathers or brothers, or, you know, sons, who also should be sensitized to know what to expect. That that actually that's why you need to take care of yourself.
And so I hope you all enjoyed that video. If you did, then please do like it. And share it with your friends, because there must be loads of women out there who would benefit from watching and listening to what Deborah had to say. If you have anything to say, I'd be really interested to hear your comments. If you'd like to see more from Deborah, then let me know that as well. And if you haven't already, then don't forget to subscribe to the New 50 TV here on YouTube. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.